So for the first of our closing sessions for day one, we have the pleasure of hosting two remarkable individuals that are shaping the world of board games. We have Hasbro's Tanya Thompson, Senior Director of Inventor Relations, and she's going to have a conversation with Eric Lang, who is an award-winning inventor, designer, and also co-creator of Life in RETERRA, as they share insights from their respective careers, examining shifts in consumer trends, and to explore how games can be used for social good. So please give us a warm welcome for Tanya and Eric. Come on. Thank you. Thanks, Susanna. All right. Yeah, front and center. Hi, everyone. As Susanna said, my name is Tanya Thompson, and I'm super excited to be here on this stage of Games for Change. So, Eric, what do you want to say about our title, which is Designing Board Games for Maximum Impact?
Yeah, I love this title. Mostly because it's a little bit vague, but so we talked about it, and we decided that based on our shared past, we've both been working in board games for a long time. We wanted to talk, and of course, we were going to talk a lot about this game, which was done with Hasbro. So we want to talk about what tool we have between the three of us, and that is maximum impact means maximum reach. How can we reach the most number of people with the greatest depth of play possible? Board games in the last 20 years have come a very, very long way. So we remember the classic games that we grew up on. And many of them remain classics to this day because they're great. But in those last 20 years, many games have come out that have gotten increasingly more complex, more deep, offering more strategy, more discoverability, more replayability. And in those 20 years, those games have become increasingly more complex. So we want to talk about sort of taking the journey with all that knowledge that we've accumulated, taking it a little bit, taking a step backward and taking all that knowledge and making it more accessible for a wider market.
Yeah, and I'd like to actually speak a little bit about you, if I may.
No, okay.
Because you know a lot about this complex games that you are talking about. So Eric Lang has invented almost 600 board games and expansions, which is an incredible number. If you Google it, right? Yeah.
That seems high, by the way.
If you Google him, you'll see he is world-class, top of the industry. And so it's my absolute pleasure to be here. He's invented games like Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Marvel United. These are not simple games, so it was quite the departure when Eric showed me Life in RETERRA. And we're so excited about this game that he co-designed with Ken Girl, and it's Hasbro's newest lifestyle strategy game. And I'm super excited because it's such a departure for you, so yeah.
Absolutely. Well, okay, I'm going to embarrass you now. Anybody who's working or has ever worked or knows board games at all can and should know Tanya. Tanya Thompson is I'm always going to get your title wrong. She's the Senior Director of Inventor Relations for Hasbro. Now, Inventor Relations is, if you're familiar with the music industry, like the A&R person for board games. Her job is to go out and scout for talent in all shapes and forms, to find the best board games, the best board game designers that are the best fit for Tanya. For Hasbro and Tanya. But it's a job that I've done this job for a few years. It is one of the hardest jobs you can possibly do. It requires a lot of judgment, a lot of hard work, a lot of boots on the ground, and like an incredible amount of dedication and persistence. And we've been friends for like 15 years. I think I've learned everything I know about how to work with publishers from Tanya and from that job. Furthermore, something that you may not see as much, but Tanya's worked incredibly hard behind the scenes on the Women Innovators of Play for Hasbro, which is an incredible initiative to open the doors for women creators of all stripes across all spectra and bring them further into the forefront, because as we know, we have a pretty big gender disparity in board game design.
Yeah, thank you for that shout out.
October 10th, if you're interested, is this year's Women Innovators of Play that Hasbro is putting on. So would love if you would join us for that virtual event.
Do it.
And let me talk a little bit about Hasbro, because I don't know if you all know about the company, but we are the largest board game publisher in the world. And you may have grown up with some of our classics. We do most of the classics that are on the market. So Monopoly, Jenga, Clue, Guess Who?
Hungry Hippo.
His favorite.
Unironically, one of my favorite games. The game's amazing. And there's a new edition coming out right now, by the way, which is the game that you remember as a kid, but even better.
Yeah. And you should definitely check it out. And the head of Hasbro Games is in the house today. So Brian Baker is leading the charge in all the things that we're talking about today. So it's awesome that you're here. And so let's talk about why. So we know that we feel designing board games for maximum impact is important. So why? Why are we doing this? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, sure. So here, this is the part where we're going to talk about, like, we're all professionals. Probably, I'm guessing a lot of us are in video games. A few of us are in board games. We work with a lot of really smart people doing a lot of really smart metrics-driven design. And it's really easy as we get into the weeds of this to kind of talk ourselves almost out of some basic common sense. We want to bring that back to the forefront, right? Like, play is healing, it's connecting, it's practice for real life, and it's safe. That's those four pillars for play are something that, and this is, I want to say this for face-to-face play, right? Social play, board games across the table with your friends, with your family. It's something it's so easy to forget but until you actually sit down and play with a board game. Just gotta take a show of hands. Like, who's played a board game with friends or family face-to-face in the last month?
Yes!
My people.
My people,
All right.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, great. We're talking to our people. So that's really good. Those of you who haven't, please do. It's healing. Now, we have this unique opportunity, this unique white space in corporate speak as to create games that for both a young generation and a new generation of players that invites a rich depth of discovery and depth and discovery, like games like Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite that kids are playing nowadays that are incredibly complex, incredibly deep games, but also really inviting, really easy to get into. We want to take an opportunity to have a game that is that, with Life in Reterrra and other games that will be following in its footsteps, to hit a really broad demographic that's really inviting, really easy to get into, really easy to learn, really easy to play, but offer a huge amount of everything we learned from hobby games and bring that into a box this big.
Yeah, and I want to touch a little bit too on the why in that. So Hasbro Games, our mission is to connect people through our shared love of games. And to take that one step further, last week I was involved, I was watching a presentation by some of the insights team at Hasbro on what is the loneliness epidemic. Mm-hmm. And it's so important. I have 3 children of my own. They're in their 20s now. And so I've watched them kind of go through the pandemic, the never feeling more connected with the outside world. Certainly they feel more connected than I did when I had to like turn on the news to find out what was happening. They have it like constantly in their face. But then also feeling very isolated and very lonely on their own. And I see the effect of anxiety, depression, that sort of thing. So when I listened to this presentation, which was all about the loneliness epidemic, it really hit home. And it was really like kind of solidified the why of why we do this. So I'd actually like to talk a little bit about some of the things that I learned.
Yeah, you should. This is really, really insightful stuff.
Yeah, so and I'm going to read a little bit as well because I'm citing some of the things from the study. So in May of last year, May of 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory raising an alarm about the public health crisis of loneliness and isolation, calling it an epidemic. So 15 to 30% of the general population claim their loneliness is a chronic state. And almost half of Americans, 49% in 2021, reported having 3 or fewer close friends. Only about a quarter, which was 27%, reported the same in 1990. So what's going on? And it really makes me think about how raising my kids, how board games was actually a way that we were fighting this. Like, because we feel connected every time. If you've ever raised teenagers, it's not an easy thing. And so even when my kids were teens, we would do game night, we would gather around the table, and all the things we'd been arguing about in the week, like chores and homework and things, would melt away, and we would start laughing and really connecting together, which has set us up as a family as they grow into being adult, which they do not like adulting, but they have to do it. So it's all very important. In the loneliness epidemic, in the study, it said data across 148 studies, 148, with an average of 7.5 years of follow-up, suggests that social connection increases the odds of survival by 50%. Talk about that in reference to my kids. That gets me. The U.S. Surgeon General Advisory also said, frequently confiding in others is associated with up to 15% reduced odds of developing depression among people who are at high risk. So, and to me, the best thing about board games is it combats this epidemic that we're in the middle of. One of the best antidotes to isolation and feeling of loneliness, to me, is playing more, and especially face-to-face. Play is the power to heal, as you said, to connect, to instill confidence, and key life skills, like teach your kids how to lose by playing board games with them, and to rebuild connections, which is what we did at our game nights. So face-to-face play is habit forming. It's like an endorphin because you have so much fun. The social connection that play inspires leads to increased happiness, which for my kids, I just want them to be happy. So that's why board games are super important to me.
100%. I mean, I had a couple of anecdotes of my own, but I'm going to be mindful of time. This is one of the things I loved about hearing these insights, because as a freelance designer who's I've been on a mission forever, right? I'm just one freelancer trying to change the world through game design, right? And I always had the sense oh, what am I doing? Is it, I felt like maybe I'm thinking our line of work is more important than it is. Turns out it's not. I mean, we are delivering a sense of, we're just delivering a sense of accountability for each other. So what I mean by that is, anybody familiar with the phrase, the magic circle, when you're talking about games? Yeah. So when you are playing face-to-face games, right, you're in something called the magic circle. It's a safe space where you get to practice play, you get to practice skills, logic, deduction, you even get to practice deception, in some cases even cathartic release, like violent release and stuff, but it's a magic circle. There's a tacit agreement between everybody who's playing. What is happening here, the stakes are low. We are accountable for each other's joy and each other's fun. That can only happen when you're face to face. As you can tell, the difference between the way you behave online and the way you behave in face to face with other players is night and day. So my iPad turned off. I apologize. Otherwise, you are going to hear my unfiltered ADD, and that's no good.
Well, and I would love for you to talk about what you say about a hierarchy of needs, right?
Right. Well, right. Thank you. I've been saying forever. I've been pitching forever online, on social media, that in my opinion, play is when we talk about the hierarchy of needs, right? Food, shelter, comfort, love. Play needs to be right up there with shelter and love. Without play, we're survival animals, right? But play lets us practice all of this in a way that is intrinsically joyful, intrinsically fun. Everybody who's ever had a baby, you can play with a baby without knowing any rules. They understand intrinsically what play is. We all do.
Yeah, and so that's the why we're up here, why we're good friends. We really relate to this. people at Hasbro internally that are an incredible team, they as well do this. This is why we do this day to day, and why, for me, it's my dream job. So what I'd love to get into past the why is how. We've got you here on the stage. You're an incredible designer. How do you design board games for maximum impact?
Sure. We got 7 minutes. All right. So I want to talk about this game, Life in Reterrra, because this one is like 10 years in the making, and we got some of our friends from Hasbro here. This game is slow rolling and release, and will be available broadly later this year. The idea here is we just wanted to define ourselves a mission, and this is, when I say we, it's my co-designer Ken Gruel and myself. The mission here was to take a game that is as simple and approachable. Like, you look at this cover, right? And it's cozy and inviting. It's like that movie poster of like building a community. I mean, it says that on the cover, but as you, just like a really, really good movie poster, as you get closer and zoom in, you see a lot more detail. You start more sense of wonder and exploration. What's going on here? Oh my God, what are they building over? Is that a cell phone in the corner? Like there's so much, it zooms in like one of those cool Google maps searches. That's what this game is. This game is taken from a lot of our video game backgrounds, like a game that you can learn how to play in like 5 minutes. I mean, really 5 minutes. Like, you can just open up the book, build a community by taking some tiles and putting them into a 4x4 grid. By the way, that's most of the game right there. But as you are playing, you are stumbling into this world of what we call like extensive combinatorics, combos, abilities, scoring, various types of interaction. And the first game you play is one of 10,000 different variants of play without changing any of the rules. So it has the depth of games like Magic the Gathering or Dominion, if you've heard of games like that, but in a game that you can explain using plain English, no jargon, nothing from the expert side of hobby, even though the game contains a lot of that in its DNA. So setting those goals, we decided rigorously over 2 years just to playtest this game only with casual players, with non-gamers, playtest in the Hasbro lab, the Hasbro Fun Lab, which I'd love for you to talk about for a sec.
Yeah, sure. So the Hasbro Fun Lab, run by Maria and Christina on games inside Hasbro, is exactly that. It's a lab that we've set up, well, they set it up, where people from the community can come in, they sign up, and they test product before we release it. And it's an environment that's very cozy, feels like your living room, such that people feel comfortable, they start to play, and then we watch them. And we have different things that we're looking out for as we watch them play, how they interact with the game. Was there something confusing? Did they have fun? Things like that. There's always certain things that we're looking for, but we get kind of this unbiased observation as to how people are reacting and playing with the product.
That's right. And so key insights we were looking for, right? Ken and I used to joke between ourselves like this, that when you play this game, it's a 30-minute strategy game that's really easy to learn, but the game is 80% the fun that you're going to have right here at the table, and 20% a commercial for all the fun you're going to have 10,000 games later as you switch just a couple of building cards and completely change the character of the game and have to collectively learn all these new combos and new strategies. Like, for hobby gamers, for those of us who've been playing this for 20 years, that's not a huge amount of new, but that is new for most of the rest of the world. So our ongoing thesis here is a game that is this accidentally complex and varied and deep. We're offering something we're going on the supposition that everybody is potentially open to richness and depth of experience. I want to go back to what are kids playing now? They're playing Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite. I don't know if you have played those recently, but wow, those are deep, deep, deep games. Infinitely discoverable, infinitely replayable. We want to do that in board game form. But in board game form, when you're playing it on a tabletop, you get to share that at the table with your family, with your friends. You have an instant topic of discussion, instant topic of exploring together, feels cooperative, even though the game is competitive. I could go on and on and on, but those were our goals. Long story short, took 2.5 years of play testing. It was a massive grind, and every single detail in this game is intentional.
Yeah, and I see about 2,000 pitches every year, people pitching ideas to me, and making something really simple, but with this depth of play is not easy. So kudos to you, and I'm so glad that we're bringing it to market.
Only took me 20 years.
Yeah. And this also, we're super proud about this sustainability the thinking of that behind this game in particular.
Yeah, that's right.
So it is all the paper and the wood, I'm just going to say, that's used in Life in Reterra is FSC certified, supporting responsible forest management. Basically, the FSC, or the Forest Stewardship Council, is an NGO that promotes environmentally appropriate, socially beneficial, and economically viable management of the world's forests. So, and it was also important that the storage components were durable and long-lasting. So the amazing, beautiful components in here, that the storage trays, are actually made from 30% recycled plastic. So it's pretty amazing that not only, because I know you're a big proponent for things like that, but that the team actually took it one step further and put it in the game.
They did, actually. I mean, so a lot of us, I can say this, I'm not an employee of any major corporation, but I'm a very close partner of Hasbro. And we all have a sort of a sense, especially of creative types, of what big corporate entities might look like. But I will say, with full honesty, Hasbro, Ken and I came in and said, hey, we want to make a game that's cozy and engenders feelings of sustainability. And Hasbro's like, all right, hold my beer. And they made this, everything about this from full stack is all about sustainability. And even in the gameplay, when you play it, you feel yes, you're playing a competitive game, but you feel like you want to build a community in a sustainable way. And when you think about it from that lens, it's actually easier to learn how to play the game.
Yeah, so much thinking all around. So let's talk a little bit, because we're almost out of time, about what makes a mass market game.
Yeah. So this is we're going to call this a mass market game, and so when a lot of us, when we think mass market games, we think games like Hungry Hippo, like a Topple, like Pie Face, and they are mass market games. But really, what mass market means is just everybody can play them. It's where you buy the games at I don't know if we can say it, but at big box retail stores that may or may not rhyme with market, right? These games, there are rules to making games for mass market. And most of them are around just being inviting, right? Being inviting and non-exclusionary. And there's nothing that says you can't make games that are really deep. Because this game is really, really deep. Tanya, you had we were talking earlier, when you were talking about the person who buys mass market games, I love the way you described that.
Yeah, well, from studies we've done, we know that 80% of purchases are actually done by moms in the family. And when I'm trying to explain it to inventors, I'm like, don't think of the person that's I own 1,000 board games, but that goes into a game shop and is very discerning. Think about mom going into a big box store. She's not there to buy a game. She's there to buy groceries, socks for her kids. And then suddenly she's like, oh my goodness, I've got this thing on the weekend. I want something to entertain my kids, or I've got this birthday present that I've got to get for my daughter's, the party my daughter's going to. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I'm going to run to the toy aisle. In the toy aisle, there's games. Oh, games are fun. Let me rush down the game aisle. And meanwhile, she's got 4 kids in tow. She is looking at the shelf. And what we have to do is capture her attention in 3 seconds or less, such that if we're lucky enough, she picks it up and turns it over to look at the back of the box to understand more about the game. And if she can instantly understand what that is, then she's more likely to put it in the cart. And that's really, really important. You've got to capture that person's attention.
That's right. I had 6 bullet points here, but I'm going to focus on hook, right? Hook is what Tanya is describing, and the hook is the non-game design reason that you want to pick up a game like this. That could be a theme, could be an enticing cover, could be a compelling toy, could be a cool gimmick, could be what we call a mech, something that physical that you mess around with. You don't sell a Ferrari to somebody by talking about the wiring of the stereo system, right? Because it's a freaking cool car. It just looks amazing. So with all that in mind, and we got 40 seconds. So even though we have 2 seconds to grab their attention, we still want to invite them into a world of endless replayability and endless possibility, but just ideally they get to stumble into that, right? We compel them with something really cool and keep them stay for the fun, stay for the endless variety.
Yeah, the fun has to be a very big factor. The fun to work ratio, as we say, make sure the fun is really high and the work they have to do to learn the game, to score the game, to figure out who wins, all of that stuff is low. The rules have to be intuitive, as Eric was saying, how he designed this game, such that you're gonna like fall into it and understand it as you go, and it's gonna like, you're gonna discover things as you play. So that is really, really important as well. So yes, why don't you wrap up?
Sorry, we have to wrap up a little sooner. Our practice was a lot faster than this, but we had a lot to talk about. Anyway, I just like to talk about like imagine like we are board game designers. We're tabletop game designers. The metaphor I like to use is a bad metaphor, but like we have this like really big inviting game table, and we have these games that can change the way you think about games. Games like Dungeons and Dragons for me, but for most of the world, these games are like, they look like mortar. They got big spikes and volcanoes and infinite walls of rules on them. Our job as creatives is to keep all the depth in there, but just remove the barriers as much. Make this look as much like the Shire as possible, and then invite them into this like epic trilogy that they can play forever. That's all I got, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, well, thank you, Eric. It's been a pleasure that we finally got to do something like this and talk to all of you, and I hope that you found that helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks all.